Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we're going to dive into something that can literally transform your morning routine. Look, if you're a total beginner to the world of specialty coffee, take a breath, you've landed in the exact right place. Today, we're breaking down a foolproof, totally approachable method from the experts over at Stumptown Coffee Roasters. We'll be looking at their definitive guide to brewing with the original AeroPress coffee maker. We're going to take all the guesswork right out of the equation and focus on exactly what you need to know, step by step.
Now, cafe-quality coffee in under 2 minutes? I know it sounds almost too good to be true, right? Usually, when we think of high-end coffee at home, we picture these massive, complex machines, totally intimidating dials, and honestly, a whole lot of cleanup. But the real beauty of the guide we're looking at today is that it promises a perfect fast cup without any of that usual specialty coffee intimidation. We're literally talking about going from just craving a coffee to holding a spectacular cup in under 2 minutes.
Okay, let's dive right into this equipment checklist because honestly, preparation is everything. Before you even boil a single drop of water, you want to have your gear ready to go. First up, you need the AeroPress original itself. You'll notice its distinct cylindrical plastic chamber and that rubber plunger. So just to be clear, this is definitively not a traditional glass French press. Along with that, you're going to need its specific paper filter, a carafe or just a really sturdy mug to brew into, your kettle, the funnel that actually comes with the AeroPress, a kitchen scale, a timer, and of course your favorite Stumptown coffee. Getting the whole shebang out on the counter first ensures you won't be scrambling around later. All right, let's talk about the very first active step of prep, which is your water. Stumptown's instructions here are incredibly precise for a reason. You'll want to fill your kettle with filtered water, since coffee is, mostly water. Starting with clean water gives you the absolute best foundation. Then you heat it to just off the boil. So why does this matter so much? Well, if the water is at a crazy rolling boil, it's actually going to over-extract and burn your coffee, which leaves it tasting really bitter. Letting it settle just a few degrees off the boil puts you right in that sweet spot where you need to be.
Okay, so with our water ready, we move methodically to prepping the brewer itself. First, you just place your paper filter directly into the plastic basket, then give it a twist to affix that basket right to the bottom of the main brew chamber. Next, securely place the whole brewer on top of your carafe or your mug. Now, this final step of prep is a pro tip straight from the guide. You're going to rinse that filter with a little bit of your hot water. This does two absolutely crucial things. It preheats your brewer so your coffee doesn't lose temperature during extraction, and it washes away any lingering papery flavor from the filter itself. Just remember to dump out that rinse water from your carafe before you actually start brewing.
Next up is the coffee dose, and the magic number to remember here is 17 grams. If you're using that kitchen scale we mentioned earlier, you'll weigh out exactly 17 grams of your coffee. But hey, what if you don't have a scale handy quite yet? Don't worry, the Stumptown guide perfectly accommodates the total beginner here. They point out that 17 grams equates to roughly 2.5 tablespoons. So scale or no scale, you have a really precise target to hit for that perfect cup. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it visually solves one of the biggest, most frustrating mysteries for coffee beginners, and that's grind size. You constantly hear these vague terms like medium fine or coarse, which, let's be real, can be incredibly confusing. But Stumptown removes all the guesswork here with a brilliant everyday comparison. You want to grind those 17 grams of coffee so the particles look as fine as standard table salt. You definitely do not want coarse, rocky chunks. By visualizing just ordinary table salt, you instantly know exactly the texture you're aiming for. It's a real game changer. So our coffee is ground to that perfect table salt consistency. Let's load it up. The AeroPress kit comes with a specially designed funnel for a very good reason. You place this securely right in the top of the chamber and pour in your coffee. This ensures every single grain actually makes it into the brewer and doesn't just bounce all over your kitchen counter. Once you remove the funnel, just zero out your scale, or tare it as they say, so it reads 0 grams. Boom, you are now perfectly prepped for the water pour.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact chronological blueprint of the active brewing phase. Think of this timeline as your ultimate map. Right at 0 seconds, you start your timer and pour your hot water until you hit exactly 220 grams on your scale. If you're not using a scale, simply fill it right up to around the top of the number 4 mark printed on the side of the AeroPress chamber. You want to complete that whole pour within the first 10 seconds. Then, immediately after pouring, give it a quick stir just to ensure all the coffee grounds are fully saturated. We'll look closer at the rest of these timeline milestones in a second, but keep this flow in your mind. You're stirring at 10 seconds, coming back at 1 minute and 15 seconds, and finishing the whole operation in under 2 minutes.
Let's zoom in real quick on what you do right after that initial 10-second pour and stir. This is an absolutely crucial step that beginners miss all the time. Right after you stir,
Carefully place the rubber end of the plunger into the top of the brew chamber. But here is the trick. Pull up just slightly to create a pressure seal. What this actually does is create a vacuum. That vacuum stops gravity from just pulling all your water straight down through the filter and into your cup before the coffee's even had a chance to brew. But a major warning here. Do not actually press or plunge yet. Just create that seal, step back, and let it steep.
Okay, so your timer hits the 1 minute and 15-second mark. According to our timeline, you remove the plunger, give that slurry of coffee and water another quick stir, and pop the plunger back on. But before you apply any downward force whatsoever, pay close attention to this safety rule. If you've been brewing with your carafe sitting on top of a digital kitchen scale, you absolutely must move everything off the scale and directly onto your hard counter before pressing. Applying downward pressure while the whole setup is sitting on top of a sensitive scale is a surefire way to break it. Always move it to a sturdy surface first.
All right, now you're finally ready to press. You just gently press down on the plunger with a really steady, even pressure. But you might be wondering, how do you actually know when you're done? Well, you don't have to guess or try to forcefully squeeze out every last drop. The Stumptown Guide gives us a really specific auditory cue to know exactly when to stop. You simply stop pressing as soon as you hear a hissing sound. Yep, that little hiss of air escaping means all the liquid has been pushed through the coffee bed. That's your signal. The brew is completely done.
So, the crucial point is this. You just remove the AeroPress from your carafe, serve up your coffee, and enjoy. From the exact moment you started pouring the water to the moment you heard that hiss, the entire brew process took just under 2 minutes. I mean, it is incredibly efficient, wonderfully straightforward, and intentionally designed to bypass all those fussy, complicated elements that sometimes make specialty coffee feel so unapproachable for beginners.
So let's recap. We've looked at the exact equipment checklist, we've simplified the water temperature, visualized the perfect grind size, and followed a really precise 2-minute timeline from the first pour to the final hiss. You literally have the exact blueprint straight from the experts. Now that the entire Stumptown AeroPress process is completely demystified and broken down step by step, the only thing left to do is ask, are you ready to step into your kitchen and brew your perfect cup? Thanks so much for joining me on this explanator, and hey, happy brewing.